Here we go.
Good. Great. Okay. Well, I'm going to turn it live, and we'll go from there. And welcome back to Spiritside Chats. Hey, it's been. Is there anybody who has a meditation they'd like to share right off the bat? Eddie's already deep in it.
Pre-grounding.
And now, as you breathe, imagine that all of those relationships are all just of you. And so your relationships with others are reflections of relationships with yourselves. And the way that you treat others is the way that you treat yourself. The way that others treat you is a result of the way that you've treated yourself. The way that you receive yourself. And in this moment, really feel into that relationship that you have with yourself. Because it's through the relationship with yourself that you can improve and change the relationship that you have with others. Now continue to breathe nice and deep and feel your sense of yourself expanding to encompass everybody, men and women, children, male and female, people of all race, all animals, all of life, all of the earth, and even the heavens above. The way that you relate with all that is a reflection of how you relate with yourself. And by being in harmony with yourself, you create harmony in your relationship to the all. Breathe into this and breathe love into yourself, through yourself, into everything, and through everything. Make this connection now. Be in love with yourself, the way you wish others to love you, and the way that you love others. Bring love to your life. As you bring life and love into the others around you. Breathe. For breath is life. Breath is love. And from this state, give of yourself fully. It is in this way that we change the world. By loving others and empowering them to make even bigger changes that only together we can accomplish. Breathe. And when you're ready, bring yourself back and open your eyes. Meditation for such a topic.
Community members had reached out and asked us to do videos on twin flames, and as we core of life, love are the fundamental of why we're here and why we exist. So I wanted to take some time and expand on that. And twin flames are, there's mixed information about everything spiritual on the internet. And I feel that I wanted to really come out and say, hey everybody, just because it's not a romantic relationship, anybody whose soul really resonates with yours, who uplifts you in special ways that you really feel a deep connection with, that you just have so much lift me up and I help lift them up, and we just work together so well as a team. And I want to also touch on sacred geometry, because I feel like the base flower of life with a circle in the middle, 6 around, so just the 7, is very representative of each of us from our perspective, where we think we're the center. And it works because in a big flower of life pattern, there's no really a center. Any particular circle you pick can be, oh, that's the center. Well, that's the center. From your perspective, you're the center. And around you is your soul family, the people who resonate with you the most, who've been with you lifetime after lifetime after lifetime to help each other along on the journey. And those are sometimes our parents, sometimes our cousins, our siblings, our aunts and uncles, friends, that we don't even meet in person now that technology exists. Sometimes they're halfway around the world, and we just resonate with them so well that somehow the universe made that connection happen no matter the distance. And that is very important, those are very important relationships to have. Those are probably the most important relationships to have. And how we uplift each other and how we help each other says not just about our relationship, but about ourselves and about them. And our inner relationship with ourselves is also very important. And a twin flame relationship can also exist, in my opinion, between your mind and your heart, because those two need to work together. You can't just have, oh, I'm living for my heart, oh, I'm living for my brain. We see that kind of imbalance, right? The bleeding hearts is the English expression of those who just put their heart out on a plate for everybody. And they're so easily hurt because there's no barriers, and it's beautiful, but they also need to have the strength to leave it in their chest, but have it so strong that it just radiates from them. This sense of love, this sense of peace, this sense of just by being present, you uplift them. Just by being in their presence, you uplift each other, you benefit each other, even if no words are spoken. And I think back to, I've been very fortunate to have a best friend that I've had since I was 3 years old. And I don't have any biological brothers, but he's like my brother. He's like one of my soul brothers. And there have been times where we just looked at each other and we knew what the other was thinking. We didn't need to say any words. We just had nonverbal communication down act, and it was a beautiful, beautiful feeling. And the more that we go into ourselves and more we trust intuition, more our minds can become silent and we can hear the more subtle things, the more we can have that connection with everybody. And as time has gone on, I feel that connection more and more with everybody I meet. Even on the street last night, I was walking home, there's this guy, might have been inebriated, but something told me that he was a little bit more open than he normally is. Nothing for both of us. Just that small little interaction was very beneficial. So I feel that if we look at everybody as an extension of ourselves, then charity is much more easy. Loving is much more easy. Respect is much more easy. And in the best romantic relationships I've ever witnessed in my friend groups, I see them act as if when they do something for the other, it's not as if they're doing something for another person and expect a return. It's as if they're doing it for themselves. They think nothing of it. They just do it. And they do it so perfectly well in sync synchronicity, it's so even and fair and balanced. They really are the definition of partners, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So that's where I felt compelled to bring this up and open it up to the community and see what everybody else thinks and feels about it.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
Perspectives, at least from my experience as well, that I'd be happy to share here. I'd love to continue going around and hear what everyone else say about this as well. So I'm looking forward to expanding on this conversation quite a bit here. But yeah, so my understanding of the whole twin flame attracting the person of your dreams mindset and intention to me really took a rather profound shift when I started reflecting upon, okay, if I'm trying to manifest the person of my dreams, how am I manifesting or becoming the partner of my dreams' dreams, right? Like, if I'm trying to attract this person, what am I doing to be that same person that the other is trying to attract just as well? And so the way that I've kind of looked at it is similar to the meditation that we started it, like seeing others as yourself and others as, you know, just different perspectives in this great cosmic exploration that is life. So when we look at it, from my perspective at least, I see a twin flame as really being like every other person on the planet. So when Liam goes like, I don't know if I've had a twin flame relationship, I would rebuttal only by the perspective of every single relationship you have ever been in has been a twin flame resonating at the frequency that you were at when you entered that relationship or while you were during or going through that relationship. I feel every person on this planet is here with an immense purpose, and the reason why those people are in your life is just as purposeful. And so I know a lot of times we really like to say, well, it wasn't this perfect ideal relationship that I was trying to fantasize about. And so therefore, you know, it's this person's fault or that, and it ends up deteriorating, as opposed to holding the stance of, you know, this relationship is very much a reflection of my level of consciousness when I started the relationship, or my ability to support and participate inside of that. And so if it's not going well, you know, I can look back and reflect on myself and say like, okay, well, what can I learn from this? And how is it truly perfectly helping me grow? And then from that perspective, again, I'd say every single person, every relationship, again, whether that's platonic or whether that's romantic, is still a twin flame relationship. And further, to manifest that ideal perfection, we have to first cultivate that within ourselves. And that's just, I would say, like rule 101 of manifesting happiness and abundance is you got to first see that in yourself and say, okay, well, what actions do I need to take to really start living the lifestyle that the person of my dreams is dreaming about? That's the trajectory that I like to hold. That's my perspective anyway.
Can you hear me okay? Jump on, that's great too, because twin flames and soul families, to my understanding as I read upon it when you said we'll be having this conversation, I was like, I need to be prepared, I need to be studious, I need to have some knowledge. And listening to you gentlemen right now, twin flames and soul families, and what Aaron just said is absolutely right. We're all the flames right now. We're all connected because of a commonality of us wanting to learn more, be around like-minded people. And as in, I wanted to touch base with what Aaron said just now. I know a lot about the law of attraction, and I have learned to manifest it, and then exactly what you want and what you attract will be that. Where I was a little concerned when you said, am I their ideal? Well, that's exactly what you called is that ideal person. So, small short story. My husband and I have been together for 9 years, and before him, I had a previous relationship, and I have a son from him, and we were not together for many years. So I learned a lot through my son's upbringing, exactly what I wanted. And so therefore, I would sit in meditation and in prayer, and I would make sure that I wrote down, and that's exactly what I wanted. But you can't, sometimes when you do that, you got to be careful about what you asked for, right? Because maybe you think you want something at that moment, and then when you get it, you're like, maybe not so much. But my upbringing, I was very fascinated by Scott Baio and Chachi from Happy Days, Ralph Macchio from Karate Kid. Again, I'm probably aging myself, and age is nothing but a number. And some other characters that were in music that were of that same features. Well, today, gentlemen, I can't say ladies, but gentlemen, I am married to my husband, who is a reflection of my younger manifestation. I can brag about it because when he puts on a muscle shirt, he looks like mine. My marriage is perfect. It's perfect in its way because we have our ups and we have our downs. It's just that respect that we have with each other. So kind of going back to what Aaron, you said, you're like, I want to manifest this. I have manifested this perfect person in for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And there's always lessons to be learned from those three things, from whomever or whatever we manifest. And that's what I'm going to leave you with at that moment, because this is not about the Natalie show. This is the Us show. So I hand it back over. Thank you, Aaron, for sharing. Really, thank you.
The joy of community and coming together to have these conversations from the open-hearted and open-minded perspectives of like learning from each other's experiences, because we all have had varying degrees of experience and knowledge and wisdom that we've obtained over the years from this. And so to hear like even still like specifically Natalie's experience of having gone through a multiple year marriage and having a child and all of these experiences are like very different experiences than all of us have gone through. And so to be able to learn from those experiences helps shed light on the potential of, I would say, all of creation. By coming together to hear what each other's experiences are is really what the foundation of a strong community, I feel, is based around. And as Eddie was talking about too, the different styles of relationships, I feel one of the most important ones is community. You know, like your peer groups and what that relationship really means and talks about. And so I don't know if we want to like open up onto that topic, but I'm just reminded too of the importance of the relationships we have with our nation, with our city, with our local region. You know, like all of these things are important relationships that we want to foster with love and with light and with good intention. And so the actions that we take in our community and how we involve ourselves, I feel, is a very important conversation to have as well.
I'd say that community is probably one of the most very default. I mean, some of us find, you know, that we want to, in some way, shape, or form, you know, pull back maybe perhaps from those communities, but that's only, it's that they want, we oftentimes find that we can connect maybe deeper to a slightly more subtle community, which is the community of, say, nature, or the community of you know, our own internal relationships with all the different experiences within, or things like that. How the life experiences have in different these types of experiences with those of us in the spirit science community, that would be absolutely phenomenal. Find a way to reach out and share your story, because so many people, I've learned things and have had enlightening experiences from a simple comment that's been placed on just a general post that's or in a video or things like that. You know, it's phenomenal to see just how a few pointed words can change you know, the perspective of something or someone. So like I just reach out and I say, if you have something that's truly profound that you'd like to share and know can help the community, or even just looking for some other perspective on an idea or something like that, bring it out there and put it to light and start that start that conversation, because of the fact that, in all reality, we all need each other and we all need to hear each other's journeys so that we can learn from each other, expedited. That expedited learning. It's not like, a few hundred years ago where often people wouldn't even leave 10 miles away from their own home. We now have access to pretty much everywhere in the world via internet, via, an aircraft, via, just a car. I mean, we could pretty much travel almost anywhere if you're in North America, north to south pole almost. So it's a call to action to gain insight with one another and really share that heart.
And again, as you mentioned, sometimes just a little sentence can bring. We ended up camping with him, and in my experience, I love the festival. I've been volunteering there for a long time. It's kind of a family tradition. My dad used to host the main stage, so I've been going there since I was 0. And for me, it's a really big tradition. It's kind of like my New Year's. It's something very special to me. So when I go there, I have a lot of excitement, a lot of love, and a lot of sense of community there. And every time I camp there, I meet the nicest people. They're very like-minded. I talk to them about subjects that, I wouldn't talk to most people about, and they get it. And they're just so sharing and helpful, and that's what I try and embody when I go there, is to be a good community member and be helpful and help clean up. And every year I'm just so surprised at how everywhere around me and in other people, everything has its significance. One day I was walking home from a friend's place. I was in a particularly good mood, and I was thinking, for some reason I just thought back to my cats when I was a kid. And then a cat that looked just like my old cat when I was a kid walked across the street and came up to me and gave me a little affection. Mm-hmm. Everything has its purpose. Everything has its place. In times where, we all had a bad day, and maybe somebody cuts us off to remind us, hey, you brought this upon yourself. It's not the other person's fault. This was within you. Wake up. And sometimes that's a really good wake-up call. Every interaction is an opportunity to either go further into our peace or realize we're not at peace and go, oh, hey, what's going on in here? I'm listening to this too much, not listening to this enough. There's an imbalance. So every member of a global community has its place. I think that even Donald Trump, having been elected, their run, would it have been different if they had let him run? It brings these things to awareness. It brings up conversation. Even if some of the things he's done to the environment haven't been great, it has made people more environmentally aware because of the laws he took away. He's making people more aware of the political studies here for a purpose, without exception. So.
Oh, thank you. I want to jump off that just for a moment. And one of the things you said earlier on as well is and something Eddie as well mentioned was, you can't speak to 7 billion people individually, right? But collectively, we've got this massive super network of communication, whether, the 6 degrees of separation between anybody and the planet sort of thing. Also, welcome, Joshua. Thank you so much for joining. It's great to see you. Love that beard. It just reminded me of something my friend Elijah once told me, which was he was saying that we went through this 1,000-year period called the Dark Ages, from 300 AD to 1300 AD roughly, and during that time there was so much darkness because there was only one doctrine allowed for the main majority of at least Western society. It was Christianity or you're dead. And not including, more of the in the eastern parts of the world and what have you. But the point being is that after that, there was some more illumination, and Christianity still had the stronghold, but now there was a little bit more open discussion allowed with a little, with more science and more, over the hundreds of years, these sort of were able to be a little bit more discussed until the point where we're at today, where, especially with the internet, so much information, whether it's true or not, it's like an information, so much light that it's blinding. And so we're sort of blinded to go through these collective struggles, like what Liam was just describing. This is, you know, how not to do things, and people are able to like get on the same page a little bit more, finding Christ, if you will, like finding the light within, finding the shared collective light within all of us, and recognizing that we're all one. In order to get to that level where there's no fighting anymore over the information, because I think that's probably the biggest challenge that we face today, is that there's, you know, there is all of this information, and then people end up taking sides. Well, I'm right because you're wrong, or you're wrong because I'm right. You know, like Trump good, Trump bad, you know, Christianity, this, that, whatever. Like, you know, whatever your belief system is, if there's no tolerance and compassion for each other, that's going to be the thing that causes the fighting and the friction. So we've got to be able to like let go of that, and or at least let go of the tension, and have forbearance, have tolerance, have compassion towards each other for having unique and individual perspectives, and then grow from that. And from that perspective, then 7 billion people don't have to all be in agreement on the exact same thing, because we have an underlying unity that we all feel. And then from that root, from that basis, all of the minds are able to just, we can throw information back and forth, we can do scientific tests, we can compare ideologies without fighting each other and stuff like that. And I guess the last thing I'll have to do here in this particular dialogue is relate this back to like twin flames and soul relationships, because that's like the point. And I guess I would just say, like, you know, when I think of soul relationship or twin flame, I mean, absolutely, from what everyone is saying, like, we all have this deep level of soul connection with each other. If we choose to explore it, we can find a soul connection with anybody. But it takes the time to really get there. And some people just naturally click and resonate. And for those really deep, intimate relationships, you know, I think it's important we have to like really go all the way with it, in the sense of when there's a challenge, you know, not just to throw your arms up and say, well, I'm done because it got hard, but to actually like investigate why it's hard and see if you can make it through together and what you can learn from it together, right? Now, that's not to say like if there's a toxic relationship that's not working, then sometimes it is best to just, you know, cut off the limb of the tree if it's poisoned and let it keep growing. Or if the whole tree's bad, you know, burn it, like in that movie, the Miyazaki one about the wind, I forget. Anyway, Nausicaa, yes, because there was poison trees and they burned them all. But like, if at any rate, I guess, yeah, it's like every relationship is an opportunity for some sort of shared learning and growing, and that's really the common dialogue around here. But the deeper that we can form these relationships within ourselves and within those, you know, within the communities around us, and the deeper we go, you know, the stronger the bonds are, and then they're relationships that last lifetimes, and you can eventually ascend together by the shared connection of I guess, yeah, continual growth. So anyway, that's everything I wanted to share, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
But we live as a planet, and if we can reframe the way that we think about this place, we can start to live more thoroughly and as stewards of this place. So anyway, I leave that. I hope that, you know, maybe opened up some conversation. I don't know where to go with that necessarily with the audience, but, you know, I think that's at least a nice introduction to what a creationship is. It's an intimate relationship with creation itself as stewards of these beautiful biological beings that we are.
Are we living as, here's nature, here's us? Are we living as separate, or do we see the interconnectivity of it? For a long time, we've seen the Earth as separate, something that we needed to conquer. We needed to conquer nature. We needed to create homes for ourselves and technology and make our lives more easy, and convenient, and comfortable. And that's great, but we need to do it in harmony with nature. And one of my personal favorite models of society is the Venus Project, and I really feel that they did that really well. In a way, they took both aspects of separating ourselves, that we personally aren't doing any damage, and allow nature to go back to nature and happen naturally, but also interact with it in a way that it's all sustainable. We're not using limited resources anymore. We're using reusable resources, renewable resources. Everything that we make is compostable, recyclable, reusable in some way. Nothing is society, because we realize nothing is really waste. It's not a waste to have this leftover product, to have this leftover fork, for example. Now it's not plastic and it's not going to get thrown in the ocean. It's going to get thrown in a compost and become soil in about 6 to 9 months. Beautiful. Nothing is wasted. We see everything as valuable. We see everyone as valuable. That's the type of mentality that we need to have and live in a society like that. And we really need to stop seeing ourselves separate from nature, from the earth, and see ourselves as part of it. Because when we go, all of this that has made us from the earth is going straight back to the earth. When we transition back to non-physical, everything that we've taken from the earth goes right back into the atomic recycling program of the earth. Somebody else has some interesting points to say about our relationship to the planet.
Well, I also want to just extend an invitation to the audience in the chat. I know we've been having some connection issues. I've been kind of watching and seeing the video has been not playing for certain bits or something like that, but it seems like we're back up right now. And for anybody who's watching, if you have any thoughts that you'd want to share, or questions, or things that you want to bring up, please share them in the chat and we'll talk about them here. And while we let that go, is there anybody else in here who has anything that they'd like to add regarding any of these topics?
Just a book recommendation. If you haven't heard of the Ringing Cedars series by Vladimir Migre, it's probably a good, if you want to understand the dynamic relationship and what we're capable of as a being, living in a living conscious universe. It's a pretty interesting storyline. It's a long book series. It's 9 books long, but it's really awesome. It's about this Siberian recluse that just happens to be living this interesting lifestyle that is so different than anything, extremely potent in its messaging, and it can stir the heart very powerfully to go back to more of a naturalized function in life, as opposed to a technocratic function in life that we've merged with almost entirely at this point, from a modern societal perspective. So if we can get a grip on some of the perspectives that are within that book series, it, I think, can help a lot of people come to more of an understanding of the power of the truth of the human capacity when connected with life itself. So just a quick book recommendation. Anything I'd like to add?
Reiki attunement, feeling back from diving deeper into the daily practices, because she no longer has the urge to participate in some of the shared activities we used to enjoy together, and as well can feel a sense of resentment building in him when I opt to skip out on one of those set activities in order to spend time furthering my knowledge and practice. I'm hoping that you guys would like to advise me on how I can lovingly invite him to deepen his own practice without me coming off as judgmental. Or if you're with somebody who's not necessarily at this or doesn't want to, you'd have to either balance your time or open-heartedly say, you're more than welcome to join me. This is what I'm doing. This is, we don't want to play video games anymore, or I don't want to play video games anymore because I'm too busy with my spiritual practice, but you're more than welcome to join me, and here's what it is. But also, in a relationship, we have to have relationships change, and sometimes we have to accept that, and they were there for that time. You may become friends, or you may want to change how that relationship is perceived as versus romantic and platonic. However, if it's something you're both really willing to work together on, then I see no reason you can't make a compromise. But that's just my experience. Mm-hmm. So like that to open that question up to everybody else and see what they feel.
Yeah, I kind of paring down what you said too to a word or two words, I guess, is self-control. In that sense of, you know, if you're with someone and they're like, I'm gonna go eat a giant tub of ice cream, and you're like, I don't want to do that, you know, like instead of being like, well, they're having it and it sounds appealing, so okay, you have to do what they want to do. And then, yeah, naturally, if it's designed and meant to work out as a result of these actions, then it will. And if it naturally moves in the opposite direction and you sort of magnetize away from each other, as magnets do both, that's okay too, and not to judge that, you know, as a bad thing, because it's just a thing. I don't know. What do you?
Not that I love to give people advice on how to live their life, and I think Natalie touched on one of the most beautiful parts about it, and that is open communication. You know, we get into these habits in relationships of communicating in certain styles, and was that, I don't know, was that you, Liam, or was it Anthony that had mentioned the how you frame the problem itself? You know, that's
it.
It's really important. Yes, how you frame that problem is so crucial, because if you make it a habit of blaming someone else, it doesn't matter whether you're blaming yourself or them, you're still placing blame. And at that point, when blame is being placed, it's our natural instinct to get defensive about it. And we don't want a conflict with our partner. So, you know, those I feel and open communication, it can be beautiful. And so what I would say is, why not make that your regular practice in your relationship? Why not make that your regular practice in your relationship? That's how you can make your relationship a spiritual practice right there. Open your heart. 5 minutes a day before you go to sleep. Just, hey, I just want to check in, let you know what I'm feeling, and 5 minutes at a try. I love you.
Yeah.
Just passion.
Living her dream. And so it's really about that, yeah, like that full enthusiastic presenter experience around her, because she's just burning with such a passion to like Mumby, am I saying that right? Mumby's question, which was, you know, like if you and your partner interested in different things, and you'll make the sacrifice of going, well, I guess I won't do the thing that I like because they want to, or they don't want to, and you know, but doing so just dulls your own flame, and it doesn't really serve partner either, because then you're less happy and less enthusiastic, less burning within with that inner flame. So
less the person they fell in love with.
Less the person they fell in love with. Very well said. So with that, acting them out, at least maybe temporarily. I think that the next call that we do, the new moon, we might be at Rhythmia, but I think we'll be just coming back. So so the next call will probably be the last. You know, we often into maybe expanding into more of a community-oriented platform for facilitating discussion. And in addition to that, I feel like for myself personally, and maybe even for kind of with the office, is that the live streams will change a bit into maybe some more regular live streams on Facebook and on YouTube of more of the behind the scenes stuff. You know, if we like walk around with our camera and talk about, show what we're working on and stuff like that. And that's what I want to be doing now in the forward motion of Spirit Studios and stuff like that. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you all, and we'll make this announcement on Patreon as well, so that everybody knows. And we might even, for the last call, we might even open it up for the other Patreon pledgers or subscribers who are pledging at the $22 or $11 level to come and join in, so we can get some fresh faces at the end of this marvelous journey that we've been on. Because Spiritside Chats, we actually started it well over a year ago. Probably like February of 2017.
I do have a message I wanted to deliver earlier, which I could weave into a meditation possibly.
That would be great. Yeah, please take it away.
Okay. Bursting of energy. Back, top to bottom. Middle. A change. A flourish. No matter what you, as imbalance creates a deficit on the other side. Always in balance. The divine in me salutes the divine in you. Namaste.